Whoa, man, meta as fuck. Meta as fuck. Have you ever seen somebody eat a melon like this? Bite into a melon like this? I do not look attractive when I eat. I look like a baby dinosaur. Never used to like honeydew, but now I honeydew. Oh, it's a honeydew. Oh, I probably should have thought this over. Great. I'll like go through phases of liking things and then not. Just like boys. Bye! Hopefully you don't mind if I have one more smoke before woke. Much of a hypochondriac. I smoke and it's not good. I know I haven't been smoking that long, but smoked a lot of cigarettes for a small girl. And I just don't want to do it anymore. And I'm at the point where I want to quit. And it's really hard to... Honestly, like, anybody and their mother can get addicted to nicotine or cigarettes. I'm pretty sure God could get addicted to cigarettes. Like, it's that unfortunate. Going off topic, I wanted to make a follow-up about the video I did on the Omega Point. And we're more into the afterlife and the resurrection, I guess you could say, and what Tipler meant by that, and what potentially could happen at the end of the universe, at the universe's collapse, and what it will mean to be resurrected. And this is going to be some Black Mirror shit. So buckle your seatbelts, loosen your bra, because shit's about to get...
Better miss me with that bullshit.
Okay, now this book is hefty, and it discusses mathematically every probability and reason why that the Omega Point theory is very likely, if not certain. He is not just like, I think this is going to happen. He's like, this is what's going to happen, bitches. So scientifically speaking, the Omega Point is the completion of finite reality. Reality is finite. When they say infinity, infinity is endless, boundless. It never stops counting. It's a number that keeps going. Finite being it has limits, whether it's space or time. But the Omega Point is the encapsulation of all finite reality. All of its information from the past, the present, and the universe at its maximum expansion has reached all of its information. We are at the peak of our evolution and have, I guess, finished the timeline of the universe. The wave function of the universe, which all phase paths terminate in the future. So, which means that we will live in the future forever and evolve all the way up into the Omega Point. What we will evolve into, way into the future, is uncertain. We could evolve into gods ourselves, although that might be a little creepy. So the wave function is like a field, consider like an electron field or a neutron field, quark fields, lepton fields, the fields in space of atoms and particles. These fields give being to all being. The field is an all-pervasive physical field that gives and guides and observes physical reality. It's made personal by the Omega Point. Now, the Omega Point is the end, but the Omega Point is also considered God in this as well. So God is the end, the beginning, blah, blah, blah. The Omega Point is sometimes used as the term for God or the end and the end of the universe. It's an omnipresent invisible field. So guiding us in this life and creating life. Teilhard described this as moving beings towards progress, the center of unification or perfection. Now, I'll probably dive into this topic covering other subtopics more, but for now I'm going to talk about resurrection specifically. So, if God exists, he's pictured as being outside the universe and also outside the universe, which is tricky. That's why they say he's omnipresent. So, if he's outside the universe, that means that some information in the universe is not coded, which means that we can't ourselves figure out everything that's going to happen. We can't figure everything out, because some information may not be detailed in the mathematics of the universe. Also, if the universe were preconceived, we would not be able to figure this out anyway due to the uncertainty principle, which has been studied many, many, many times and is brought up a lot in any scientific book. I know they did a study with photons and trying to predict its position, and you can't figure out or predict where a photon is going to go or where a particle is going to go its trajectory. You can't exactly pinpoint. So points in space, or the momentum, or the position of a particle has a limit. There's a limit to the accuracy in which we can calculate it. So with that being said, there might be either information that we are not allowed to obtain, or information that the creator himself is unaware of, which might indicate free will. But that's a topic for another video. Now, what will happen at this omega point, the end of the universe? What will happen at the end of the universe, and what does this have to do with resurrection? And how will we be resurrected? This book states that humans will be resurrected when the computer capacity, the universe, is so large that the capacity required to store information is significant enough. That is when we will be resurrected. So the amount of storage at almost the maximum capacity is about, I think, T-1, so at T-1, which you hear people launching into space say all the time, is time. Time is -1. Whatever the fuck that means. But the final singularity, which means the absolute end, would be T = 0. Time is done. Boom. We done. We out. And 10 to the 10th to the 123rd power is the amount of seconds right before the initial end. And that will be when the dead are resurrected. And ironically enough, that is my birthday. Now, some of you are thinking resurrected, bringing zombies back up from the dead, reviving bodies back to life. And that's not what resurrection means, at least in this book. This book is scientifically backed. So, resurrecting humans would be an emulated human that would be made from emulated cells, emulated molecules, emulated atoms, electrons, quarks, leptons, etc. If the simulation is so perfect, that simulation, or resurrected person, will too have free will. So, the person is not even resurrected until the simulation is absolutely perfect in itself. People fear what will happen when you die in the meantime, as you're waiting. And I talk about that in the last video, which I did a weird rant about. So if you want to figure out what I think would happen during that wait period, which is what would happen during the wait period from being dead to being resurrected. Watch the video I made about the omega point and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, but Tipler goes on further to say that not only are the dead resurrected, but those who have never even lived. That's a lot of fucking people if you think about it. All of the people and all of the histories that could exist, in fact, will and do. They just don't exist in our phase trajectory. It means they just don't exist in our world, in our environment, in our dimension. And that sort of dives into the many worlds theory, which I might make another video about. That sort of indicates that for every possible outcome, there exists a universe in which that outcome has happened. So right now I'm making this video. In another universe, I might not be making the video. In another universe, I will be saying some other shit. I don't know. So resurrection is the exact replica of ourselves. So you think, oh, it's not going to be me. It's going to be a replication of myself. It'll be simulated in the computer minds in the future. But it will be us. That's the thing. The simulation will be us because pattern identity theory dives into this, and the future emulation of the original death, in that they will be emulated at their time of death. So we won't, I wouldn't assume that if this were the case, we would have a bunch of dead-looking simulations. And also, some say that this is impossible because that no replica, however perfect, can make forensic sense. How can I exist and then also exist? But this is where it gets into this like weird Black Mirror type shit, because if you saw the first episode of season 4, you'll know that this guy created this alternate reality gaming system or some shit like that, and he actually, all the coworkers in his office, he replicated them and stuck them in this other universe. The people in that universe, why am I spoiling this? Just go watch it. But it was really trippy because the people in the other universe thought that they were the original one, and oh shit, I'm stuck in this universe and I want to get out of here. No, they didn't realize that there was another them living another life. It was as if that other them was a stranger. They didn't know what the other them was doing in this duplicated, simulated reality. Wow, holy shit. Whoa, man, meta as fuck. Meta as fuck. Replication would be considered, say, copying and pasting a Word document or making a copy of a photo. That is essentially what replicating humans would be, and it would be probably that simple in the future. The exact same DNA and mind program, or soul, because a soul is a mind program. So if they have the same DNA and the same mind program, they are the same person. And in quantum physics, it is known that two atoms and two electrons in the same state cannot be distinguished. Even if they're interchanged, nothing happens to the universe. And a person is defined by their atoms, by their makeup. We are made of atoms and electrons and connecting synapses. The part that gets a little confusing is, well, what if I've changed over the years? What DNA will be replicated? Well, the most recent, because our bodies are constantly changing and we're constantly making new DNA and new cells, and our bodies are constantly changing. So it's to say that the information that was last collected is the point that you'll be resurrected. But he also goes into talking about how you can, in the future, that there will be options and ways of taking away illnesses and making you look younger and refreshing your DNA in a sense. So he goes into talking about that. But some of you may think, well, this isn't humans. This is some sort of weird hive mind robotic project. But the word human would have to be modified beyond its present usage. Computers would be so advanced that humans would also sort of, in a sense, be considered people. If you're thinking about it, sex robots might be so advanced that they too will be considered people. Resurrecting our minds might get a little complicated because sometimes we don't remember things exactly as they happened. And if you're resurrecting us, you're resurrecting our lives and our memories that go with it. So our brains warp a lot of our memories. They say that perfectly sane people remember events that never occurred, and brains do not store a faithful representation of an experience. They don't store an exact example of a situation or a scenario or an encounter that happened. We'll store pieces of that encounter or experience, and even then, so the pieces of that experience will be warped. Or so the omega point may have error correcting feedback advance, right? But one might argue that our memories make us who we are. So if we're correcting these flaws in our brains and memories and so on and so forth, that we might not be who we are. Memories are part of our personalities in a way, and our personalities are part of our souls. But the omega point would just, I think, make minor tweaks or upgrade to a more perfect form of eternal being. Another point I'm going to dive into, and this will probably be the last point in this video at least, and it's sort of a theory called the no-clone theorem. And I guess it goes on, and I'll summarize it, and says that any human being that's ever interacted with you will also be resurrected. So you're forever intertwined with them. No matter how far you are, how separate you are from them, that you will be resurrected with them. So parents that are intertwined with their children will be resurrected, their children will be resurrected, and they will be resurrected with them. So you cannot resurrect one without the other. I can't resurrect myself without resurrecting my father or my grandfather, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot more that he talked about, and he talked about what will happen once you're resurrected, which is really interesting, and I might make a video about that. Some parts of it I said, really, man? Like, come on. Like, I felt as if creating some sort of utopia. But essentially, we don't know what's going to happen at the end of the universe. So we don't know if we'll be resurrected or not, I guess, until we get there. It's an interesting thought experiment, at least for me, because I feel like reading all of this, I've come up with all of these really cool ideas for, like, episodes of Black Mirror or something like that. Like, I feel like Black Mirror should, like, holler at me because I have all these really fucking cool ideas for seasons and like, episodes just for reading one book. It's a really cool idea about the future and futurism. I'm not really sure if I believe in it, but if so be the case, I think it gives us hope at least, you know? So if you liked this video, if you have any thoughts on it, I'm Lexa. Feel free to subscribe, leave some comments, show some love, follow me, and I'll see you later.
Too many boys, I don't know who to pick. Too many boys on my juggling stick. I could pick one and then end up with none, so I think I'll